Okay, good afternoon, everybody. We'd like to welcome you to this talk about student finance. And we're really happy to have with us today Peter Howe from the University of Reading. He's going to be giving a brief overview of the student finance process, which will be useful to you if you're in 6-2 and you're going to university this year, but also if you haven't applied yet, but you may apply in the future. There are slight changes every year in terms of the student finance procedure and terms, but generally the process remains more or less the same. So without any further ado, I'm going to pass over to Peter, who's going to speak for around about 20 minutes. If you have any questions that are general, you can ask your tutor to type those into the chat. If you have any personal individual questions, we would advise that you come and see us in progression guidance and we will do our best to help. So without any further ado, I'll pass over to Peter. Thank you very much, Peter.
Thank you so much. So I am Peter. I'm from the University of Reading. I'm going to give you a brief overview of student finance now. One thing I will say is if you see two little dogs running by, I'm ever so sorry. They hopefully shouldn't get in the way too much. So student finance for 2024 to 2025 entry. So this is for full-time students doing undergraduate UK studies. And this is for students from the UK. If you're not originally from the UK, feel free to ask me some questions and I will try and support you with those as well. So a little bit of an overview to start off with. We're going to talk about the student finance package, extra funding, University of Reading support, applications and information, student loans and repayments, something called Black Bullion, which is a resource that at the university we pay for, but even if you don't go to us, you can use it for free, what to do and when, and then some really, really useful links as well. So the student finance package as a whole, there's two parts to the student finance package. You have the tuition fee loan, which pays for your tuition fee. And then you have the maintenance loan, which pays for your living costs, but it may not cover all of that. So you may need some additional things. So whether that's extra funding, doing part-time work, scholarships or bursaries, or support from parents or caregivers, that's how you usually afford to live at university. So I will say that on this next page, this is subject to change and may change. The government do change this year upon year usually, and there are some changes coming, but the process will all be the same around about. So tuition fees for new and full-time undergraduate students at the moment are fixed at £9,250 per year. Eligible students, so if you've lived in the UK from birth or you have permanent residency to stay, usually do not have to pay anything up front because the student tuition fee loan will pay for that. A tuition fee loan does not depend on your household income. Student finance pays that directly to us as an institution at the university, and the loan is only repayable when your income is over £25,000 a year. Again, this may change in the upcoming year. They haven't released those figures yet. When I say the £25,000 a year. So all eligible students are entitled to receive a maintenance loan. The amount you receive all depends on kind of where you study and your household income. In 2024 to 2025, the maximum maintenance loan is £10,227 for people studying outside of London, okay, and living away from home. The maintenance loan is paid directly into your bank account each term, and the loan again is only repayable when you earn over £25,000 a year. If you want to see what it looks like to study at home, so if you live with parents or guardians, studying outside of London but not living with parents, and then studying in London and living with parents. And then also there is an additional one which is living and studying abroad for at least one term as a part of your university UK course. A really, really useful resource, I always say, is to go onto Student Finance Calculator, because you can work out with your parents' income how much you will get. There's a little bit of a note at the bottom of this one. The income of any parent, step-parent, parent's partner, wife, husband, or civil partner that you usually live with may be taken into account. You can be assessed as in the UK as an independent student if you are over 25 on or before the academic year starts, married, divorced, or have a civil partnership, have care of a person under the age of 18, have no living parents, have no contact or estranged from your parents. So that means that you haven't had contact for a while, and you usually have to back this up with either a professional body. So that could be a teacher, a police officer, a doctor. They will say, no, you don't have those anymore. You are a caregiver, or you're looked after by a local authority. You can't trace your parents, or it's not practical to contact them, or you supported yourself financially for 3 years at the start of your course. So the next part of this is all about the maintenance loan, and we've got a few examples here. So the first person, Bob. Bob is not living with parents and studying outside of London. The household income for Bob is £70,000 a year, which means that Bob will get around about £4,767 a year for him to live on. Then we have Q. Q is not living with parents and studying outside of London. The household income for Q is £28,000 a year, which means they will get around about 9,789. So those little differences in the amount can make a big difference when it comes to your maintenance loan. And then this is an independent student with a household income of 0, which means they get the full allowance. So the payment process. So like I've already said, tuition fees are paid directly to the institution in instalments as long as you enroll. Maintenance loans, grants, bursaries and scholarships are usually paid at the same time and are paid directly to the students. Core student finance is paid in 3 instalments. So the first instalment is triggered by your enrollment. So making sure that you take a little bit of money with you when you go to university, as you won't get your student loan straight away, is always a recommendation for me. And then the second and third instalments are paid automatically at the start of each subsequent term. The payment process for bursaries and scholarships usually are around about the same, but they can differ depending on the institution. We then move on to extra funding. So extra funding can be for all sorts of different things. So if you have children or an adult who is dependent on you, so if you're a carer, you can have something called Parents Learning Allowance, Childcare Grant, or Adult Dependence Grant, which will be able to give you additional financial support. If you have a disability, myself, I'm dyslexic and I have ADHD, so I was able to use some of this. Even if you have a mental health condition or a long-term health condition, there may be finances available for you. If you study overseas as a part of your UK-based course or undertake a medical or dental clinical program, there are potential additional funding for you. Bursaries for certain professions, so some teacher training subjects, some NHS courses, and also certain social work courses as well. And if you're leaving local authority care, there are always additional finances available for you. So scholarships and bursaries, this is what I like to refer to as free money, because if you apply for it and you get it, you'll never have to pay it back. So they're granted on a variety of different things, and they're awarded by lots of different bodies, and they can be on things like academic achievement, they can be subject specific, they can be on your household income, certain professions. And then universities may offer different awards and schemes, money off accommodation, reduction in tuition fees, cash, a combination of these awards. I worked for a university that used to be able to get a MacBook. So there's lots of different things available depending on the university. So the support at the University of Reading, we offer a few different things. We offer the Reading Bursary. Students who are eligible will get £1,100 per year of eligibility, and they're awarded to students with an income of £27,000 or less and a home address within certain postcodes. We also have lots of other different bursaries at the University of Reading: care, experienced or estrangement, work or study placement, digital support fund, commuter travel bursary, the Julia Boardman Award. So there's lots of different things. The one thing that I would always recommend is making sure you look, because you may not look at, you may not think about things like bursaries and scholarships, but it is free money that can support you whilst you're learning. And there, again, there is a few additional. So the Ewan Page bursary, 3 awards of £150. The pre-entry travel bursary. So This could be good if you're thinking about coming to an interview day, especially with us at the University of Reading, or an offer holder day. There is a potential that we'll pay your petrol for you, or the pre-application bursary, which is up to £500 for students who have a disability who need to make a visit to University of Reading with specific relation to their disability, and we'll support you with that. You can also find more of our bursaries and scholarships on our pages. Part-time work is really important at university. It's one of those things that lots of people do. So making sure that you kind of keep an eye out at student job fairs at the universities, and making sure that during your summer holidays, you're using them wisely, either to study or learn or develop yourself or work. There's a chance to work at universities. Most universities have student ambassadors and student union venues that you can work at and earn additional finance, and they will support you around your studies as well. And then you need to find a balance when you're at university. Prioritize your university work over your job. Now we're going to move on to how to apply. So this is a really, really important bit. So applications are open now, and the deadline for this year, so coming up, is the 17th of May. So this is for this year, not next year. Yours will open if you're going to university in September this year. This one is for you. If you're going next year, then it'll open around February. You're going to need a valid passport, birth or adoption certificate, other identity and residency evidence. You're going to need your national insurance number. You're going to need a UK bank account, university or course details, and with this, use your preferred choice. There's no need to wait for a confirmed place because it takes us a very little time to change that, whereas for you to apply, it takes a lot longer, and it takes a lot longer to be processed. The application should only take you between half an hour and an hour. It says half an hour at the end of there, but I always suggest going really, really slowly and making sure that you go through the right bit. There is then a section on your parents. If your parents are anything like my mum, I sat down and did it with her to make sure that she knew what she was doing. But yeah, there's lots and lots of information on there, which I'm happy to go through in additional. They will need things like national insurance numbers, household income, personal taxable income, details of any child benefits. They will check this with HMRC as well. Making sure you apply early is really, really important because it takes a while to process them. It says it takes at least 6 weeks. I usually say it takes 9 weeks to process an application. So if you apply late, it could be that your finance isn't in place for September. Loads and loads of students every year apply late, and then they arrive at university and they can't afford to pay for the accommodation. Please make sure that you apply on time. Make sure any evidence that you send to Student Finance is sent in a recorded envelope to make sure that they can't lose it and is right the first time. Read and understand the loan and term agreements before you sign it. And then we move on to the student loan repayment. So this is current, but obviously, like I said previously, these are subject to change. Repayments are usually made in the April after graduating or leaving university. It's only when your income is over £25,000 a year. You repay 9% of your income over £25,000. Deductions are made from your pay through HMRC, so with your tax and your national insurance. And if your income falls below that £25,000, you will stop paying for it. Any outstanding loan balance will be written off after 40 years of entering the repayment. So if you are, really good example on this next page, if your income falls below that 25,000, you stop paying your student loan. And if your income's around £45,000, your monthly repayment is around about £150 a month. So the easy way to talk about that is if you earn £26,000, you will pay 9% on £1,000, which is £90 a year and around about £1.50 a month. £7.50 a month, not £1.50, sorry. And then we talk about Black Bullion. This is a really, really great resource for you. It's completely free for you. The university pay for it. You can use it to support you when you go into any university, not just the University of Reading. It's got really great learning quizzes in it, short videos, lots and lots of information in there to support you on making your application. So I would always suggest using that. And then what to do and when. Take a look at Black Bullion. It's really, really useful. You can even start looking at that now. Apply to your Student Finance Authority as early as possible. You can sign up to their mailing list if you want to be, and you can get notified. You can also just follow them on Instagram, Snapchat, or Facebook, and they will put things up on there. Prepare your information. Make sure you know what you are having to have ready. So that national insurance number, that passport or birth certificate, make sure that you've got those ready. Check with your department that you're going to see if there's any bursaries or scholarships, and also check on the university website. Take a look at our Money Life Matters because it will support you across lots of different universities. And then your student loan is not available from day one. So making sure that you have a little bit of money to support you when you go to university is going to be key to making sure that you're able to survive and live at university. Things to remember. It's important to make the right choice, right university choice and course choice for you. Tuition fees and loans are available to all eligible students. Future repayments are linked to income, not what is owed. Research all the finance available, especially bursaries and scholarships. Apply on time and online, and there's no need to wait for your confirmed place. Do it with your first choice, because if you go somewhere else, the university will support you in changing it, and it's quicker than starting a new application. Check all your details are correct before you submit your application as well, because you want to make sure that the finance is going to you. And then here's some really, really useful links. You've got the Student Finance website, Student Finance Calculator, which is one of my favorites because it will tell you what you will get. Social media, so their Instagram, their LinkedIn, their Facebook, and their Twitter. There's a YouTube as well. So if you're not 100% sure on something, they do put some really useful videos on their YouTube. They also have a student finance campaign, which is where you can sign up if you want to sign up to their mailing list. And then here's a list of some really, really useful links, including some things from Reading as well. And if you are stuck or you do need some help, you can always email student funding at Reading and we will offer you some help during that. Okay, so I think I've sped through that really, really quickly. If there's anything anybody wants to recap, if you have any questions, please tell your teacher and they'll pop them in the chat. And I'm here to answer. I'm happy to answer any of your questions. Hope that was okay for you, Anna.
Thank you. That was great. That's really helpful recap. So the majority of the students listening will be going to university this year, but a significant proportion will be going next year. So obviously we're in different positions, but it was a really helpful recap of the process and also the way that the repayments work as well. And yes, if any tutees, any students have any questions, please ask your tutor to type them into the chat. Okay, so I have a question already. The
Yep.
question is, what interest rate will I be paying? Thank you,
Um,
Bill.
on your repayments for your student finance,
Yeah.
so it's RPI, so which is I've just gone completely blank on the wording of that. So it's RPI, excuse me, plus it's usually 3.9%, but they do change per year. If you give me 2 seconds, I will just quickly look on our database. So current plan 5, which is what the guys will be going for in September, is 7.8%.
7.8%. Okay.
7.8%. But you've got to remember the way that it works is yes, the interest is added to your student loan from the moment you take it, but it's after 40 years, if you've not paid it off, it will be wiped. Most people in the UK will only ever pay off their tuition fee loan, the maintenance loan, and the interest will never be paid off, if that makes sense.
Okay. And it comes off pre-tax as well, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So actually it's most people don't notice it, and in my opinion, it shouldn't be a reason to prevent you from going to university if that's what you think the right thing to do for you is. Then I've got another question here. Should they apply for finance this year if they're deferring their entrance?
No, they should
No.
apply next year.
Yeah.
Just
Okay.
going back to the interest and all of that sort of thing, my student loan repayment, and I am in a job where I'm paid rather well, is less than my internet bill for my house per month. So
Okay.
if that makes you feel a bit better, I pay more for my bruised and battered mobile phone than I do for my student loan repayment every year.
Okay.
And then when it comes to finance, if you are deferring, you defer your application, but you can't defer your finance. So what you'll do is you'll start a new application next year. So for you, the person that is deferring, I would always recommend following them on social media because you won't have a teacher to tell you student finance is now open, but they will post it all over their social media or follow their mailing list if you're good with emails.
Yes, and it's also worth saying for students who haven't applied this year but are considering applying next year, it's a really good idea to attend. I'll do a talk about applying as a 6-3 student, and I will do that in September. So you will get sent the information about that, but that will be useful to attend. Thank you for those two questions. Are there any other questions? I just wanted to just recap the significance of the May the 17th deadline, because I think that might be really pertinent to a lot of people. So the correct thing is, isn't it, Peter, that they can apply after May the 17th, but if they want their finance to definitely be in place for the beginning of their studies, they have to apply by May the 17th. Is that
Yeah.
correct?
So you have to
Yeah.
make sure that your student finance information and your application is in by midnight on May the 17th to guarantee it for September. Even if
Yes.
you do it on the 18th, student finance will then not guarantee it for September.
Okay. So that's
So
10 days
even,
from now.
yeah. So even if the application is slightly wrong and you have to change it, or I had to do it with mine when I was a student, all those many years ago. Um, Mine was slightly wrong and I had to change some of the finance thing, but because I'd applied by the deadline, they had to guarantee it by September. So they had to work harder. Um, it's a really big thing. Make sure you get it in by the deadline. It will help you a huge amount by the time you go to university. And the other thing is, if you have to post or send anything to student finance, make sure it's recorded, signed for, because they have a nasty habit of losing things, not on purpose, but they do lose things, and you don't really want to lose something like your passport or your birth certificate.
Okay, thank you very much for that advice. I don't think
Well,
we have
welcome.
any more questions, so I'll probably end the meeting now, but that's been really helpful. And if any students listening have any further questions that are individual to you, then please come